the Tuskegee experiment, withholding life-saving treatment from participants who believed they were receiving medical care, misinformation in research, failures in informed consent. Deception is prevalent in society, and research is no exception. It is easy to falsify data, omit findings, manipulate results under the guise of groundbreaking discovery. Poignant. The father of modern gynecology, as we call him, and have statues around the country on this man that operated on Black enslaved women, children, teenagers that had given birth, those that were afflicted with extreme pain to the point that their masters deemed them unable. They can't move, they can't do anything with them. So they sent him, and he worked on them, and he didn't even have experience. His first two patients died, and then he he came across the country and started working in this way with gynecology because a young lady fell off a horse and was having pelvic pain and hip pain, and he had her get on her naked, and as he did with all of these women, and head down, behind up, inserted whatever into him that he came up with speculum. No, again, no anesthesia. He also worked on children. And this is not the only person this was well known, well done at the time by doctors. These experiments, these research done on Black people, but he operated on children. They believed that Black people were less intelligent, and he believed particularly because his skulls grew too fast. So when moms had babies, he went in with a shoemaker's tool into their brain, separated their skulls. When the babies died, he blamed it on the sloth and ignorance of their mothers and the pathetic Black midwives. And how Black slaves were routinely sold as specimens to ambitious white doctors by Stephen Kinney. It was normal that professionals use slaves in classrooms as bedside demos. I quote, white medical students, as a matter of course, expected education and training based on observational dissection and experimental treatment of Black bodies. There's so much we don't know, particularly when you have populations that, whether it's a Holocaust, Native Americans, chattel slavery, the doctors, the white male privilege, not to be controversial, but literally, I don't know what else to call it, that allowed, they could do whatever they wanted with Black bodies, with people in general, and my children are distracting me. But that it was so cheap to just buy another period, more expensive than to really take care of the people, the slaves, than to actually properly care for them. It's just they could just replace them or patch them up. Negro hospitals linked with Negro traders were anxious to patch up Black people. They didn't say people. They were anxious to patch up their stock to sell, and it just, if it were their own person, it just became so much worse. White doctors routinely sent reports to medical journals and trafficked Black bodies to medical colleges. There's also a Guatemalan experiment where they injected them with syphilis. And in Tuskegee, Black men were not told they were not being treated. And the Jewish Children's Hospital, that was when I didn't know. Jewish chronic disease hospital patients were injected with cancer cells and told that it was quoted by the board of directors saying that it was not necessary to tell them that the substance were cancer cells because they are harmless. And this is after they said that they had given informed consent. There is so much. I knew about that one milligram. The Willbrook, I did not know about children with mental retardation, which was what it was called at the time, were infected with live hepatitis to develop vaccines. And the mothers were coerced because they were told there was a long waiting list. They didn't have those that didn't have the resources to care for their children or get them in. They couldn't get in. They got in that way by consenting. The Nazi experiments that involved dropping people from parachutes to see what the maximum altitude is where you need a parachute and freezing them to test hypothermia and testing the drinkability of seawater and mutilating lakes for bone grafting, contagious diseases, mass sterilization. But I wanted the most. I knew about this one, but there's so much more to learn. And it's just, I'm sorry. I don't apologize.